Ilana Razbash, and this is Radio Architecture.
Good evening from beautiful Bunurong country. It's a wonderful full moon tonight shining brightly over the Karam Karam swamp. We are broadcasting to you live on Radio Karam for another evening of Radio Architecture with Ilana Razbash. My guests and conversation partners this evening are Jo Foong and Jamie Sormann. They established practice Fullman Architects in 2008. Their Melbourne-based architecture practice is devoted to the realisation of beautifully simple, sensitive spaces. They've built projects in educational, interior, hospitality and retail fields, with homes being their primary focus on what they are best known for. Utility, context and sustainability underpins their approach. They encourage collaboration and embrace ideas from aligned clients, building professionals and craftspeople. Fullman immerse themselves in every project and work towards inspired outcomes that elevate the experience of everyday life. As a certified passive house designer and examiner for the Architects Registration Board of Victoria and the Architects Accreditation Council of Australia, Jo Foong brings expertise in sustainable design and contributes to the broader architectural profession. Jamie Sormann is a member of the Australian Institute of Architects and former chair of the Board of Directors of Architeam. Jamie brings leadership experience to both the practice and the architectural community. So many roles, so many topics, so much involvement and so much to talk about. So listeners, join the conversation this evening. Text us your questions on the live studio line. The number is 0493 213 831. And if you miss those digits, just hit that contact us button on Instagram at Radio Architecture and text us in the studio. We'd love to have you with us. Welcome to the program, Jamie and Jo.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So good to have you in. And lately I've been having more duets joining me for a conversation. I'd like to know the beginnings of where it all started and absolutely also in practice. And I'm really eager to drill into that, but I'll hold back because there is one question that I like to ask all my guests first. And that's, what's your earliest memory of a building or place?
Oh my God. I've got a really bad memory.
That's true, but Jo, you used to tell the story of your brother studying at uni and how that attracted you to starting the course to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's not really a building or a place.
No, quite right, but I was just trying to help you.
Thank you.
Trying to help
You
out,
had an
'cause I
architect in the
can't-
family.
Well, my brother studied. He started building and planning, and then he didn't like it, and so he did something else.
Brothers have huge and unnecessary influence on us.
I do.
I followed a really high-level math subject when I really didn't need to. We don't need that for architecture, do we?
No.
Or because the older brothers do first. How about you, Jamie? Any memories that come to you first?
Well, I guess I don't have I can't place an early memory of a building, but those early influences, it might have been Jo's brother, but for me it was my mum, because she studied architecture but never finished it. And, I've got older siblings who didn't end up as architects, so I wasn't, I had choice in life, but I think there was a very strong influence from her to pursue, this career.
How about you, Jo? Why architecture?
Oh, that's a really hard question. I feel like I was led, by my brother, led a little bit, but I don't really see another. Well, maybe there's a few, but I love it. It's so perfect for me, so I'm really happy I landed here.
How did you know for yourself that would be the course for you?
Starting out,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I thought, that looks cool. I always wanted to be a set designer,
Oh.
and so I was like, architecture's kind of like that. So let's do that.
And plenty of architects do set design.
Yeah. And also my brother was doing all these fun things, like making helmets out of paper and stuff. And I'm like, I want to do that.
Architecture school definitely does have those projects and exciting moments.
Yeah.
You both met at uni, didn't you? Your friends all the way from the uni days. Do you want to share that story?
Oh, I guess actually our uni course was like everybody kind of went together. So it's quite family-like. You know, you start off with the same cohort and you finish with pretty much the same cohort. So, I don't know, we just clicked really well and just, we're friends the whole time.
And we were friends, but also, although we didn't really do projects as teams, all the projects were really individual.
Yeah.
When I was designing, I always sought Jo's advice and her opinion, and I think she sought mine. I like to think she did. So we kind of started to collaborate even at uni, even though we weren't handing the same project. We did help each other out, and it was quite cooperative throughout. So it felt easy and quite fun back then. So it was sort of at the back of my mind that maybe we'll do this again at some point once we finish our studies.
Was there a moment that really consolidated for you that you want to become business partners and work together and, I guess, take that risk on the friendship?
No.
No.
Listeners, they're both so relaxed. There's so much laughter in the studio here tonight. There's just so much giggling. This is your personality, guys, isn't it? It's very fun. I imagine your clients have a lot of laughter as well in meetings and projects.
I hope so. But, I mean, we didn't really make a choice. We dipped into private practice while we were both working, and we were both very happy in our jobs at different practices. And we had a really modest project, and we decided to do it together. And that project actually expanded to the point where initially we both went part-time at our jobs, and then ultimately we had no choice but to go full-time for this project, which never got built, by the way.
Oh, really?
Doesn't matter.
What was it meant to be?
It was meant to be a bar and live venue in Carlisle Street, and it was a good building. Well, I shouldn't say that. It never got built, and it's easy to say.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the problem. The problem was that
It's bad timing.
yeah, it was very bad timing. It didn't get through council because of the use people were concerned about, particularly concerned about alcohol at that point, and it didn't get through. But ultimately, it was a really positive thing for us because it meant we could start. And so while a lot of our friends subsequently have made the decision to start a practice, we never chose it. We just accidentally started a practice.
It was thrust upon you.
And the modest projects started to come to us, and it just continued. And I'm not sure, it's been 16 years and we're still probably, I feel like it's probably made a decision somehow along the way, but we never tied the knot in any kind of official capacity. It just happened.
Was there a moment of realization where you felt like, hang on, we've started a proper practice together and we're off? And
yeah, I actually think when Alan and I decided to move back from London, that was because I was working remotely for a few years. That was like a very kind of concerted effort to be back here and stay here.
You've worked globally as well, haven't you, Jo? So how is the architectural culture and that work life different from overseas to Melbourne? Often people talk about, the grass is greener on the other side. Working in Europe's the dream for many, especially for Aussies wanting to run away to London.
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, living in London is awesome. It's just like the best. You can just go anywhere from there. So life in London is awesome. Architecture-wise, it's hit and miss. I reckon just like Melbourne, it's like anywhere. I think it's the same. There's just there's so much more advancement in London because they've got a bigger population, they've got bigger projects, they can push things further. So there's, it's more advanced.
In terms of technology?
Yeah, in terms of technology and the things they're designing and the way they're designing.
Because you're quite passionate about also a bit of generative design too and tech and sustainability and how that intersects.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like coming from London and seeing the kind of things that they're doing, especially with, thermal comfort, insulation and all that kind of stuff. And then coming back here and seeing how people live here, kind of like shines a light on what's important. And so, that's one of the reasons why we decided to get into passive houses and really focus on how to make a change like that.
What about you, Jamie? How did your interest in sustainability emerge?
Look, it's funny because Jo and I started our practice so early. We just grew our interest together. So we didn't start a practice with any real mission in mind. We developed our interest and worked out what was important to us as we went in a really organic way. So it's the same thing. We've never had any real strategy or any real plan, which I think we probably should.
Was it
It's
almost a
not too
blessing,
late.
though,
It's
perhaps?
not too late.
16 years in, could figure it out now. They say that in the kind of the modern age of media and marketing and business that you should build in public and share your growth and share your journey. What advice would you give to people that are considering starting a practice or are early on in that journey and are starting out now?
Well, I can probably talk to that. It's when you start or early on, you're very optimistic that once you complete that first project and perhaps it gets published, that you're away, and then the work flows and you're a success. And I mean, there's some comfort and some disappointment when I tell you that doesn't play out that way. It doesn't matter how good that project is. There are so many good projects, and they don't stay in the public imagination for long. So the advice that we received, it was Emilio from Nest Architects, who was a couple of years older than his practice was a couple of years older than us, was that you should put yourself in front of everything. It's all good. So if your project is cool, then you shouldn't be concerned that you're being published in a deeply uncool publication.
All publicity is good publicity, as they say in the media business.
Yeah, and I think that's true. So I think, you know, if you're a publisher, you win an award, and somebody might take notice of that, they're not going to call you unless they also follow your Instagram and talk to a friend who's met you. So you've got to do it all, unfortunately, because I think if we had it our way, we would come and talk to you weekly. But aside from that, we would probably do no publicity, because it's not the thing that excites us once the project's finished. Very proud of ourselves. A lot of high fives, a lot of compliments to each other.
A lot of giggles.
And, you know, we get deep satisfaction from the client's happiness, etc. But we actually lose interest really quickly. Our interest is what we're working on currently, and that's our concern. So that's not the right attitude when it comes to publicity. You've got to maintain your excitement for your completed projects.
And that's the kind of generalist nature of architecture. You have to do everything, and there's a bit of art, a bit of engineering, a bit of science, a bit of law, and also media marketing, isn't there?
Yeah.
If you had to start all over again and start a practice from scratch tomorrow, is there one thing you'd do differently?
Oh, that's a good one too. Jo's looking absolutely blank at this point. The things we should have done sooner, you know, we when we eventually did our branding and built a proper website.
Yeah, like proper branding.
Yeah.
Like actually hired someone.
Yeah, rather than do our own.
You've got a beautiful website.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. That was great that we got there eventually, but we should have done that.
True.
Do it sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great advice to the listeners. No matter what your industry is, it's really become the most important thing.
Yeah.
Almost unfortunately.
It's important, and it's a great process of discovery, and it kind of helps define a whole range of things. Like when you're reading the text to us at the top of that, I do still feel kind of deeply uncomfortable.
Hearing bio, most people do.
Yeah. And every time I hear it, I'm like, we've got to rewrite that. We've got to go again. But that did come through. Those discovery sessions when we did our branding, all that text came through that process.
I do want to touch on your website because there's this cute little animation that shows how your two surnames come together to make the practice name, and then each project has a very cute animation that goes with it as well. Did you work with an artist for that one?
Yeah, we did. We've got a friend, Isabel Knowles. She does amazing art. Beautiful, like felt sculptures, gorgeous things. And I don't know how we just started. We just asked her to do something for us. And then we thought, hey, we should just do this for every project and just have like her find like the creature that like speaks to that project and then animate this little bit.
It gives a great little personality and continues some of that imaginative storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we kind of work out the image, the base image, and she comes in and says, all right, pick a colour.
Pick a colour.
And whatever, eggplant, aubergine, and then pick an animal and we'll go pangolin. And she's like, okay, done. And then it comes back with it's always been so good. It comes back, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But half of the time she picks the animal. She's like, she can see it. You know, like the pangolin, she was like down the hill. You know.
So she does that for every project now that also comes through and gets published on your website.
Yep.
We've got John and I love animation actually, and we love old animation tricks and things. We always, we haven't done it yet, but you just watch out because like a sliding, we want to animate things when things slide and the movement, like it's very fun to create a little animation using that. It's like an old technique. And
I can't remember what it's called.
A stop motion?
No, it's where you've got two images and when they go over each other, they like...
I can't remember.
I'm sorry.
Either way, it's fabulous branding, fabulous visuals, and it helps bring people into your world as well. What's been the most memorable project for you over the years?
In a good way, Jo.
Yeah. I'm thinking.
Both actually. Now that you mentioned it,
Yeah.
I'm keen to hear what's been the biggest challenge or the one you've learnt the most on, and also what's been the most memorable, most fun, and most memorable.
What is our most fun project?
The projects have been very easy and they've been fun. Like it's rarely the case when, clients have been, completely compatible, really interesting and clever people.
It's a delight when that happens.
Most of our clients are very bright people. They're all. We get a lot of double doctors, a lot of
double doctors. That's so funny.
That's our main client base, double doctors, and like everyone, lawyers and drummers actually of late, and
drummers.
So, it's a coincidence. It's just an odd coincidence. But like Valentine Street, where it's like a 10-year-old project.
Yeah, I think maybe even longer actually. Do you reckon 2011?
Yeah,
something?
clients are just.
I can't remember. That was a definite favourite.
You've been working on that project for 10 years, or it was completed 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, just very, very kind, very clever people,
and totally aligned. And that was really early in our career, and they were like, we value this, and this, and we're like amazing.
What are some of those core values for you? You're seeking your ideal client.
Yeah, like no wasted space, no space for the sake of space.
Extra rumpus room, nah.
No, and all the sustainability things that are really important and not seen, and they valued those and.
And also space to entertain, like that's fun for us. We like it when people want a party house, because we put ourselves in their position, and these are the things that we want in our homes, in our lives.
Yep.
So that's fun. Although we don't always have to be perfectly aligned on those things.
No,
it's fun. It's sometimes really fun when people come to us with very surprising requests.
Oh, I love interesting briefs.
Yeah.
Quirky briefs are awesome. But yeah.
We've just had a question come in from a listener. Hi, Jo and Jamie. Have you ever faced a project where the constraints, budget, site, or client brief led to an unexpectedly creative solution? Thank you, listener. That's a great question, and I think we're on the same train of thought in our conversation right now.
Well, it's just more or less every project. we're always heavily constrained. Of late, we've had
especially the COVID escalations, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, of late, we've had actually, because we're a bit of a more mature practice, we've had some slightly bigger sites and some more flexibility on that front in a manner that we've never had. So if you look at all our built projects for the first 10 years, they're all heavily constrained on sites, more or less all of them. And that's continues to be something of real interest to us when the site requires really clever thinking and putting multiple uses into one space and that small footprint and all of this stuff. Yeah, definitely.
It's like automatic
continues to excite
sustainability,
us.
isn't it? Because
Exactly.
you're building less, you're building
Exactly.
smaller, using fewer materials, less carbon,
That's it.
cheaper operating costs, right?
Yeah, that's it.
What about passive house? Is it a bit of a cult? Is it a fad?
I think
Or is it a helpful tool?
I found it really helpful. It's guided, like fine-tuned the way that we design. It maybe is a bit of a cult. A little bit like
An in
people are
club.
very passionate and it's awesome. And, I think the struggle with it is that it's new to Australia. It's not new to Europe. It's like 30 years old and, it's mandated in many countries. And it's a change in the way of thinking. And so it's just going to take some time before it becomes more common. But it's growing.
But you're not purely passive
No.
architects. So you work with the client, with the
Yep.
budget, with their needs and their sustainability appetite.
Absolutely. And what they can afford, basically. Because a lot of these things, they do fall by the wayside because you've got to make a choice sometimes.
As a rough percentage, how much more expensive is passive house compared to reasonable quality architectural level
Yeah.
construction?
Well, all of the kind of passive house builders, they all reckon it's about 10% extra. And that's not a lot, but it is when you're over budget.
Yeah.
And costs just keep on going up.
Yes. And there's a 10% from left, right and centre.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And suddenly those percents start stacking up. And you've done a number of projects towards this end as well on the Mornington Peninsula. We are broadcasting out of Carrum. How has being by the coast and thinking about some of those considerations affected the design for you?
Well, I guess the extreme weather has been a real consideration. And, the one in Mornington with SIPS panels. So they're prefabricated panels and they're wedged with insulation. So they've got a really high insulated value. And they're also prefabricated, so they go up on site really quick. So we use that in the Mornington one on the coast. Wow. Yeah.
Are you pretty experimental with materials? Are you brave to try new products on the market?
Yeah. And actually, we used to do a lot of hospitality, and you could be very brave with hospitality. You could just try whatever. And so that's kind of fed into our residential work as well.
Do you think hemp is going to be a big product?
I would
for
love
us?
it to be.
Hemp brick.
I would love it to be.
Do you want to share a little bit about what makes it so great?
Just environmental, the impact, the carbon is so low and, but there's challenges to it because you can't use it outside on its own. You've got to render it. So you're not seeing the beauty of the actual texture of it and then the cost of it. And that looks really beautiful, but it's a finish, you know, it's the expressed finish, which would look really beautiful, but you have to have the space to do it because you take out, 10 centimeters of the wall all the way around to have this express finish. And you're comparing that to plasterboard, which is 10 mil.
Yeah.
So there's impact.
Decisions.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
the nature of architecture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, although as you're speaking, there is the panel product which we might use. So we often use an acoustic panel product, which is more frequently seen in office
And
ceilings
hospitality.
and
That's when we used it
yeah,
first.
yeah. And we think if you use it carefully, it can look great.
Yes,
And that looks similar to the hemp
definitely.
panel, but the hemp has better environmental credentials, so we would be keen to
And if
bring
we
it
can
in.
grow it in Victoria, this could
Yeah.
be another product that we could actually source from our state.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
I told when the hemp rep came in to discuss it in our office, we talked about the fact that it's quite difficult. They've come up against a few barriers, and one of the barriers is when you sell hemp product, there's like this perception that there's a total Venn diagram overlap with people who smoke a lot of weed. It's like weed smokers, hemp sales product, total overlap. And until recently, I think that perception is there,
Yeah,
and
been
it's time
prevalent.
to separate them as not some weirdo product that's for hippies.
Yeah.
It's like a high performance, very good option. So they've got to shift that perception. Yeah, that's on them, not us.
Yeah, exactly. There's a bit of evolution. Well, as architects, that we have so much risk that we have to carry and so much professional responsibility. So it is about making a lot of really, really careful decisions.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what does good design mean to you?
Joe, is this for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. For us, I think, or talk for us.
Yeah,
You can,
sure.
You can.
Go ahead.
I think Joe and I, doesn't matter what the project or the budget, we really appreciate efficiency and have a real natural distaste for waste. So even if it's a larger home, we still want to have a proper understanding of what each element and in the home is actually for. So it can't just be arbitrary. It can't just be space. There's got to be value in it. It's got to, at least if it's a feeling of space, that's a function. That's something you can pinpoint. When it's just size, then we think you're better off without it. We think you can get a better outcome, a better home that feels nice to occupy if we don't overdo the size of these rooms or waste material. So for us, I think good design remains. I think that's an essential component to good design, in that let's be frugal with our use of materials and think about where they're coming from, and try not to waste them.
Build what's essential and make it work well.
Yeah.
I often feel myself repeating this on the program, that clients should remember that they're paying for thousands of dollars for every square meter.
Yeah.
Does that room really need to be that much bigger?
Yeah.
Do you really need that 4th or 5th bedroom? Do you need a 3-car garage? Maybe it can be a bit smaller. Listeners, these are all important design decisions.
The other thing too is some things can be really beautiful, but we don't necessarily think of them as such great design. And we're guilty of these things too. So if you've created a bathroom and you've used half of Athens, if there's that much marble in there, yes, it's beautiful. But is that good design?
And when does it become garish?
Yeah.
Yeah, or when does it come? Even if it's not a question of taste, it's like we could have done this without. We could have achieved a great outcome without importing this much stone. So, these are, usually client driven, those sorts of things. But it's probably up to us to try to convince them of an alternative that is more sensible on that front.
Work together.
Yeah,
there's a challenging moment when it's their dream home that the customer is never wrong.
That's right. That's true.
It's customers.
Doesn't mean they're always right. Just means they're never wrong.
At Sushi 10, where John and I used to eat lunch all the time before they moved out of the city, he said, "Customer rarely right."
Well, sushi masters are very, very strict. Tell us about Archi Team, a little bit about what they do. Are you still involved?
I'm no longer on the board. Joe's still on the advocacy committee, but I was on the board for 5 years, and I was chair for a couple of those years. That's a long stretch.
You've done your time.
Yeah, I've done my time. For any architects out there, I highly recommend you get involved. Being on the board was a fantastic experience. It's an organisation that really nourishes and represents small practice architects. So Joe and I, we have a practice of 4, and that is actually the upper scale of the typical Archi Team architecture practice that is represented.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of sole practitioners.
Yeah. And it's a cooperative, and it functions as a cooperative. We have a a shared insurance policy. So it's very, very economical, and that's really central to it. That shared insurance policy means that it's shared risk, and when any of the 1,000 members finds themselves in a challenging situation, as we all do, then it's the first point of call to get assistance from your colleagues from your hive mind, and people are really incredible at coming in to assist you through those challenges. There's a whole range of other reasons to be involved in ARC Team, but I think that's probably the most central.
Probably core advice to how we started this conversation too, for young and emerging practices to consider what industry bodies they can be involved with and what can be suitable.
Well, that's the no-brainer. If you're starting out as a sole practitioner or as one or two, 100% join ARC Team, because it's more economical for a start, and then you can start looking at the benefits.
And Jo, you're super involved with the registration board and the accreditation council, and the registration of architects and the protection of the title has been a really hot topic in the news lately, so it would be remiss probably not to discuss it. I'm really passionate about the title of architect and that we're protected. How do you feel?
Oh, I agree. I mean, there's so much out there just in terms of building stock.
Wholeness with the damp. These are dirty air. These are unhealthy buildings.
Yep. So many issues. And for the term architect to be kind of misused when we have so much experience and so much training.
Yes.
It seems ridiculous to not push that, to not make sure that that is upheld. We do as much training.
And it's a legally protected title.
Yeah. I know, it's a bit crazy, isn't it?
For doctors to be able to call themselves a doctor and begin their next lawyer's only 6 months of professional practice after graduating from a legal degree. Yeah. So we really do work very hard, but it's about consumer protection. It's the Architects Act actually protects the public. It protects our good listeners.
Yep,
so exactly. They're living in safe homes and they're living in compliant homes.
Yep, that's right.
As a bare minimum.
Bare minimum. Yeah,
fair and reasonably competent architects as a bare minimum. That mantra is drilled into me eternally. You giggle, Jo, but we can all hear it ringing in our heads, can't we?
Yeah. So I examine graduates who want to become architects, and then that's one stream, and then the other stream is for architects or building designers who have worked in architecture overseas but haven't trained in an Australian accredited course. And so that method of becoming registered is a lot more onerous, and you have to prove that you can design. You have to prove that you can run a job, and it's months and months of work. So it's pretty gut-wrenching when people don't quite make it.
Yeah, very, very hard work, very hard journey, but for very good reason.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people who are maybe considering that additional accreditation pathway, who have come from abroad, who want their qualifications and their experience recognised? Do you have a top tip?
Yeah, there is a top tip. Read the requirements.
Wow. Like, you'd be surprised how many people don't.
Yeah, just like one thing, you just don't put in your concept options, and then there's a whole section that we can't mark.
Right.
You just haven't proven that and everyone who's working in design is doing that. They're doing that as they go. But if you don't add it to your submission, we can't see that you've done it. And that is gut-wrenching when that happens, when you get a submission and it's brilliant. They've thought about everything. The building's actually really cool, really well resolved, and then you go through the checklist and you're like, well, that whole section isn't there.
Can't help.
Can't do it. Yeah. Read it. Just read it. Make yourself a checklist.
How has your practice and your work personally been enriched by being involved with these assessments and accreditation programs?
Oh, that's really interesting. I mean, it's really just highlighted for me how important, like more so the that other stream that I was talking about. Like it's really shone a light on the different skills that are out there. And, you know, I think I just really value the learning that we've had from our education and the experiences that we've been able to have. So I don't know, it just makes me love it more. Yeah.
And feel grateful
Yeah.
as well, because it changes over time, and as we're involved with guest crits and sessional teaching and
you get exposed to so much. Yeah, it's great.
And students and mentees, and you go on the journey, you reflect how lucky you are to have an architectural education and background.
Yeah.
That opens the doors to anything. It can be really foundational training, even if you don't become an architect. Although it's pretty hard going if you don't actually become an architect, right?
Yeah, I can imagine it.
Does your mum regret it, Jamie?
Yeah, she does. She openly tell you that she regret it. She was, I think she was 21, and then she fell pregnant with my sister. My sister's quite a bit older than me, so she was 21, and she felt also that created a bit of an excuse for her to step away. But she also said that she did her year out at Batesmart, and there were very few women in the industry, and she just didn't see herself. She couldn't see herself at working as a professional. She was very intimidated by it and just and couldn't see it happen. And I actually think that she was probably right. She is probably didn't quite have a toughness that women required then to make their way through the industry. I think it's a different story now, but I think her concerns there were probably valid.
I think the data tells us that we still have a gender parity drop off where we're sort of neck and neck, and then after registration there's a bit of a drop off in the profession. And
it's not solved. It isn't solved, but I think it was very difficult or too difficult then.
Yes.
And I think architecture's got room for a lot of different personalities now. I don't think you don't have to be a head kicker. You don't, and that was her concern, that she didn't have that in her. So, yeah.
Who inspires you the most?
We always used to say, what would Kengo Kumar do?
Yeah.
He's your hero, star architect.
Yeah, he's like the star architect.
Yeah, but a lot of
loads.
local. I mean, I think a lot of Melbourne architects in general, our friends and colleagues, are producing such good work. If I start name checking them, then I'll miss some.
You'll miss some.
Yeah, but they probably won't listen anyway.
Well, I hope they're good listeners of the program.
Yeah,
they're certainly shout out to all the Melbourne architects and friends of Fuman architects.
Well, there are so many good practicing architects in Melbourne, and they're working in the same context as us.
Yes.
So we're immediately most curious about what the really good small practice architects are producing, similar set of problems. What are they doing? And we're all the time we're just.
I love that response, because you're thinking about your contemporaries. It's all like art collectors, for example, are recommended to collect their contemporaries, people in their current time, in their current moment, in the culture that they're living in. You're forming and building that conversation. And sometimes when I ask questions about mentors or inspiration, people jump to some sort of famous celebrity or someone from the past or someone much older than them that they guided them through.
And we still get inspiration from the
masters,
Craig Elwood and the case study architects and all the Japanese architects who are they're still practicing, but we still look to those projects and those architects. But I think over time, more and more so, it's our contemporaries, I think. But yeah, otherwise on that question, besides the Japanese, I think the case study architects, it's more the tone. It's they're modernist homes, but they're fun.
Yeah.
Do you want to share for the listeners who are the case study architects?
Thank you for that prompt. I needed that. This is why you're a professional.
Thank you. That's very kind. Our program's been going for 2 years. It's been a pleasure so far.
They were homes commissioned by a magazine called, what was it, Arts and Architecture magazine in the mid-century homes, 1950s in California, and they engaged just the most incredible architects and produced really probably a dozen of my favourite homes ever produced, full stop. And they're all commissioned by a magazine. It's a pretty wild thing to think about conceptually. And it was just a really optimistic time in California. So it was modern architecture, but fun. So they're all party homes.
Yeah.
And the beautifully photographed too by Julia Schulman's. And, there's always record players and just great looking, incredible clothed people looking like they're having a very fashionable and glamorous time in these homes. So just the spirit.
Do you have a favourite mid-century party house in Melbourne? I'm thinking of one in particular.
Oh.
In Melbourne? I mean, there's the
Walsh Street.
Yeah.
The Wall Street house.
Yeah.
It's definitely a party house, that one.
Yeah.
Since you're coming through the front door and you're in mum and dad's bedroom.
Yeah.
Which the bed was just a futon, and there was mostly partying.
Yeah, and then the kids are at the back.
In this pretty much a separate house,
Well,
separated by a garden.
Yeah, they've got to go outside to get to the kids. Yeah, and that is really, they were living it. So good. I love that. And I love the stories also about those guys when they, I'm going to get all of this wrong, so don't check any of these facts. But Robin Boyd sort of went to Japan, and he came back and had Japanese themed parties for architecture friends, and they all sat around and took their shoes off and sat on the floor and were introduced to Japanese culture in that way. And I just think that's the best image, because we're so familiar with it now, but it was this hilarious. I think it's hilarious.
He was also part of the group that founded the Anti-Football League.
What?
The first AFL before the AFL even existed, and it was the Victorian Football League, the VFL, and they all opposed footy, and they had a little in-club crew called the Anti-Football League, the AFL, of other architects and intellectuals at the time who weren't part of it at all.
Wow.
But the Wall Street House by the Robin Boyd Foundation is still pretty much as they left it to the day, isn't it? And listeners can book in for all sorts of events and talks and programs.
Yeah.
And it's a really special, magical place in Melbourne.
Modest. The McGlashan as well, at the Heidi Cho. That's the other house
amazing.
that John and I probably still draw the most inspiration from.
And beautiful gardens, listeners, completely free to access. Go have a picnic, walk around the art park, enjoy the day, maybe wait for the spring to come, something to look forward to. But the Heidi Galleries, another mid-century modernist masterpiece that you can come and enjoy and see the exhibitions. There's a McGlashan Everest house actually not far from where we're broadcasting tonight in Aspendale. Very famous, was on the market for not long ago, almost 4 to 5 million.
Wow.
That the Boyds and the Mercamoras families were staying out and enjoying as their summer house.
Wow.
Beautiful project by McGlashan Everest. Perhaps almost one of my favourites.
Yeah, right.
Those ones. We've got some really wonderful architecture down in this part of the world too.
Yeah, we do.
Well, we talk a lot about the past century. What about the present one? Where do you think we're headed as a discipline and as a profession? What architectural innovation or ideas do you think is going to be sort of imminent for us in the next little while?
I feel like we've touched a little bit on, on passive house. I think that is becoming
it's going to be mainstream.
More important, to more people.
Do you think everyone's going to triple glaze their windows?
I would like that to be the case, but there's still this lag in the perception, of the value of it and the need for it, because Australians, they feel it's like they forget that there's cold,
that there's winter in the south.
Winter. That there are cold times, and but the thing is, it also helps in the heat. It keeps the heat out. So I don't know. I think it's gonna come. you know, I just wish it would come faster. But yeah,
Well, it's sort of there's the carrot there to do a passive house. Like there's people who are on board and they want to do it. And I think it'll become normalised when there's a bit of a stick too, because there's issues in modern buildings that get addressed in passive homes.
Yeah.
So as the code requirements become more onerous to get a building built, what the shortcomings, where they fall short, things like the ventilation, central ventilation system.
mold.
If you don't introduce those systems, then you're creating problems that didn't exist in homes that were less well built, ironically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you need the air handling, you need the clean air.
Yeah. So as those things start to happen, I've got a feeling that that we'll see it become more mainstream. I'm also thinking I've got a brand new concern that I've decided I'm going to be really passionate about.
Pray tell.
I think we have to get rid of chimneys.
Oh, okay.
So I think heritage homes in the inner city, there's this default position from councils and their heritage advisors that we have to keep the front facade.
And
Fine, we can work with that.
Including the chimneys.
We've got to keep the chimneys. And that is, all due respect to all heritage advisors out there, it's insane because it's not, nobody's lit a fire
in their bedroom.
I don't think in
for
my
100
life.
years.
Yeah, no one's done that. No one's done that. So it dawned on me the other day, like, we've got to jump through all these hoops. We either maintain the chimney in the fireplace and have to
build around it, work around it.
Or put a new stove inside it and run a flue up.
But it's always in the bedroom. It's the front two rooms. It's like, so all we do is block them up and it's this massive barrier. Or we get rid of the fireplace and we have to keep the chimney above the roof.
With a lot of complex structure. And
it's very expensive. It's, $10,000 to $20,000 to keep a ornamental brick chimney on the roof, which is a hole as well in terms of thermal performance in the house. It means you're not getting a proper consistent seal above you. And we've all just taken it as a given that we have to keep the chimney. And I've decided this is it for me.
This is your new niche pet peeve, and I love it.
Yeah, this is it.
It's not one I've heard before.
Yeah,
Jamie's going all the way.
But it makes perfect sense.
I'm pitching it to the Herald Sun. The Age. I've got different pictures for different publications.
You're ready to go.
Reading the tone, reading the room.
This conversation's come full circle on the importance of media.
Yeah. Well, now I'm embracing it. Now I'm going for it.
What about when media is written by something else, by our friendly AI machine? You're more in the tech space, Jo. How do you feel about AI and kind of the future of AI in architecture?
Oh, well, it's got its uses. It's a tool, right? And we've got to learn to use it because it's not going away. But I don't know how it's going to be used in design. It probably will be, but I don't know how we would use it.
I mean, it doesn't matter what we think because it's going to happen despite us. It's one of those things. It's the same thing happened to me when COVID was coming. I read nothing and assumed it was not a problem that was going to affect me. And then I read everything one night and I came to work and I'm like, Jo, we're going to go home. And the same thing with AI. I'm like, I'm not checking, I'm not reading, this is not interesting. And then I went home and just started using it for text and I realized, oh no, AI.
This is actually...
it's going to do everything.
This is the thing.
I think if you can feed in all the parameters, if you can feed in all the parameters and all the history and all the knowledge into a computer, then it's going to come up with something really good.
Yeah.
Not just okay. I think eventually it'll come up with something really good. And what I realised when Jo and I design together, if Jo's on the mouse and working and I'm next to her commenting, you can do a lot with words. Like I said to Jo, like that's a bit, I don't know, that maybe we should try making that round, or like maybe we should, make that a bit taller so we've got a bit more space, or, these sorts of things just with words. And you can, when we're collaborating, you can create a design using those tools. So once you've fed in all the parameters and it's produced something, then we can say, thanks a lot, Claude or ChatGPT or whatever.
You're meant to be polite to
You're
them,
doing great.
apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Oh, yeah, it drains a lot of water every time
Yeah.
you say thank you.
Don't say thank you or please.
Not ecological.
Understood. So I just go taller.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Can you bring in some influence like Niemeyer, think mid-century, whatever? What would Kengo Kumar do? ChatGPT. And it's probably going to work. So what that means, that's my personal view, and I've got no idea what I'm talking about, but that's my experience in use yet and my best guess. And I've never really guessed anything correctly in the past.
That's true.
So yeah, don't go buying stock or anything, but that's my guess.
I reckon it's right. It is something that we should learn to use and use it, because everyone's going to be using it if we can use it well. It's just like moving from hand drawing to computer drawing.
Yes.
You just got to do it. Otherwise you're left behind.
I'm moving through better softwares.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm hearing a lot that AI is going to be integrated into software that'll make our engagement with software work better and easier and faster and smoother?
I think it already is being integrated.
How about architectural software?
Yes. I mean, Photoshop, and not that that's specifically architectural.
That's
but
true.
We use it a lot in visualization.
It's pretty buggy still, isn't it? that generative AI gives you some funny moments.
Fix that bit, and here's a horse.
No, but they go, there's a horse in that. Oh, you're right. Here you go. That's better now. And it's a llama. And like, mate, no. All done. It tells you with such confidence. Oh, you're right. There you go. Much better.
The thing that AI hasn't learnt yet is to feel and to think like a human through all those emotions. And that's really the importance of an architect. At the end of the day, no matter what tools we have, it's that ability to hold, build, maintain relationships, connect people, bring ideas together, bring disparate, different teams together. AI won't take that job.
I don't know. I think it will.
You think it will?
Yeah, I do.
People are using AI for therapy, so it's
okay.
possible.
We use it, but a lot. Not for architecture, but for anything text related, spreadsheet related. I use it all the time, and like Jo and I collaborate on everything, but I no longer need Jo to collaborate with me on emails because I check my emails using my preferred one is Claude, and I've found it really useful so far. And for research, it's unbelievable. So instead of trawling through websites to find the example that we did recently, an air conditioning unit that meets your needs, you explained what the needs that need to be met, and it goes away with 10 minutes and does that research. And so long as it provides proof, because it gets things wrong so often, as long as it provides the URL with proof, then
you have to check all of
we've got to check it. But it's been fantastic for that purpose.
Especially product research.
Oh my God.
How much time that saves, especially when you really want something, you've got this vision and you want to find it for the client.
Yeah.
You want to bring it there. Well, I'm mindful of the time, so I'll ask my last questions for each of you. And that's, what gives you hope?
Oh. That's an interesting question.
Jo's saying.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to ask what gives us hope when we do so little forward planning. I think it's.
It is hard. That is hard.
I think I'm very happy working when we've got enough on, and we're happy with with our clients and our projects. I'm really happy at work. it's John and 2 others. Just in case they're listening, it's Tristan and Daryl.
And they're awesome.
It's mandated; they must listen. We're very happy at work. We're very happy working with them, and by and large, we really enjoy our clients and our jobs and our builders. Where vast majority of our work is something we really enjoy. So the hope is that it continues. So we don't have ambitions to be a very big firm. We have ambitions to be able to continue what we're doing, and turn down work that doesn't appeal to us. So if I'm hopeful that we can just continue along this path and be more and more selective about the projects that we work on.
I think in addition to that, like we were talking about climate change, and people's awareness, and I do feel like that's changing, and that is giving me hope that people will be more aligned with what we do and be more ready to put those things up front and make the judgment that is important, that is more important than space or a finish or something like that,
And that they actually don't have to compete, those values.
So that is a hope. That's a hope.
The sustainable should be beautiful, I think.
Well, I think we won't do it if it's not beautiful. As in, we'll always make it beautiful. But I just hope that people will be on board with us.
Yeah. I love hearing the word beauty be used again and come back into the zeitgeist. It was sort of forbidden in architectural discourse for a little while.
Yeah, mate, that something being beautiful, that's a good reason to do it.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Yeah.
That's important. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining me for another evening of Radio Architecture with Ilana Razbash. This live show was broadcast and recorded in the Radio Karim studio on Bunurong Country. You can replay the show wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in and supporting community radio. Take care.
Hey, this is Chris Mitzi and you're listening to Radio Karim. Thanks for tuning in.